NatWest. Let's crack it open.
On July 25, 2023, Dame Alison Rose resigned as chief executive of NatWest Group. She had told a BBC journalist that Nigel Farage's Coutts account was closed for commercial reasons. The internal documents showed his political views had been cited. The conversation was described as a serious error. She left with 2.9 million. 1.3 million was clawed back. NatWest is also the only major UK bank to have been criminally convicted. In 2021, it pleaded guilty to failing to prevent £365 million in criminal cash from being laundered through its accounts over 4 years. The fine was £264.8 million. In 2025, NatWest posted record operating profit of £7.7 billion and a return on equity of 19.2%, the highest in this series. To understand NatWest in 2026, you have to understand what Royal Bank of Scotland was in 2007. At its peak, RBS had 1.9 trillion in assets and was briefly the world's largest bank. That was largely the work of Fred Goodwin, the chief executive nicknamed Fred the Shred, who drove an acquisition-led growth strategy that culminated in the £49 billion purchase of ABN AMRO at the absolute peak of the credit bubble. In October 2008, RBS disclosed 24 billion in losses, the world's largest annual corporate loss at the time. The UK government committed £45 billion and took an 84% stake. Goodwin was stripped of his knighthood in 2012, the first person to have one revoked since the 1970s. He kept a pension of over $300,000 a year. No criminal charges were brought. The man who ran the world's largest bank into the ground walked away with his freedom and a 6-figure annual pension. NatWest had been acquired by RBS back in 2000. After the collapse, the combined group rebranded as NatWest Group in 2020, deliberately distancing itself from the RBS name. The government gradually sold its stake over 16 years. In May 2024, the final shares were sold. NatWest became fully private for the first time since the crisis. The current chief executive is Paul Thwaite, a career commercial banker who took over on an interim basis when Rose resigned and was confirmed in February 2024. The group operates through NatWest in England and Wales, Royal Bank of Scotland in Scotland, Coutts for private banking, Metal for small business, and Rooster Money for children's banking. Total assets sit at around 780 billion, purely domestic. No investment banking at global scale, and no significant international exposure. Like the other banks in this series, NatWest operates under ring-fencing rules. Retail deposits sit inside a protected entity, legally separated from any higher risk activities, and covered by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme up to $85,000 per person. The RBS collapse is the reason ring-fencing exists. The bank that caused the regulation is now protected by it. The headline product right now is the switch offer. NatWest is offering £1,000 to switch to Premier. That is the most generous bank switch offer in the UK at the time of this research. Premier Select requires £100,000 in income or savings, or a £500,000 mortgage balance with NatWest. That mortgage route is distinctive. A homeowner with a large NatWest mortgage qualifies for the premium tier regardless of their salary. The digital regular saver pays 5.25% on up to £5,000, deposited at up to £150 a month. The rate is variable rather than fixed, which means it can change, but at the time of research, it's the second highest regular saver rate in this series, behind Lloyd's 6.25. The trade-off is flexibility. NatWest's has no fixed term. Lloyd's locks you in for 12 months. Premier Select itself costs nothing. You get no foreign transaction fees, zero interest on up to £500 in arranged overdraft, and the qualifying threshold sits level with HSBC Premier at £100,000. The Premier Reward Black Tier at £36 a month adds travel insurance, airport lounge access, and monthly rewards. Below the premium tiers, the Select account is a free no-frills current account, and the Reward account costs £2 a month with the potential to earn £10 back through qualifying activity. On mortgages, NatWest sits in the competitive range at roughly 3.9 to 4.5% on fixed rates. The group also runs Rooster Money, a children's banking app for financial literacy, and Coutts continues to operate as the private banking arm despite the scandal. Coutts has revised its account closure procedures since the Farage case, with clearer separation between commercial reasons and reputational assessments. The criminal conviction is the most serious regulatory outcome of any bank in this series. In 2021, NatWest pleaded guilty to failing to prevent money laundering. A Bradford jeweller called Fowler Oldfield had processed £365 million in cash through NatWest accounts between 2012 and 2016. NatWest's systems had been classifying those cash deposits as checks, which meant the enhanced monitoring that large cash transactions are supposed to trigger never activated. Criminals moved hundreds of millions through a major UK bank for 4 years because the system couldn't tell the difference between cash and a check. Not a fine, not a consent order, a guilty plea. Then came the Coutts scandal. Nigel Farage had been a Coutts customer since around 2015. In 2020 and 2021, Coutts reviewed his relationship. A 40-page internal document described his views as being at the far right of the political spectrum, cited his support for Trump and his positions on immigration, and flagged him as a reputational risk. The closure letters sent to Farage said commercial reasons. When he obtained the internal document through a subject access request and published it, the gap between what Coutts wrote internally and what it told him publicly became national news. Dame Alison Rose's conversation with the BBC journalist, where she repeated the commercial reasons line, was the mistake that ended her tenure. She left with 2.9 million, had 1.3 million clawed back, and the scandal triggered an FCA review of debanking practices across every UK bank. The new guidance now requires specific written reasons for closures and adequate notice periods. The Coutts case didn't just change NatWest, it changed the rules for the entire industry. The account freeze pattern at NatWest follows the same shape as every other bank in this series. A customer received a £5,000 loan, payment on a Friday, and NatWest froze every account, including the one a mortgage payment was due from. Another customer had accounts frozen on Christmas Day after receiving a loan, with no customer service available. NatWest is a bank that has been through more institutional damage than any other in this series, and come out the other side with record profits. The world's largest bank failure, a criminal conviction, a chief executive forced out over a phone call with a journalist, and £7.7 billion in operating profit for 2025. The £1,000 switch offer is the most generous in the UK market right now. The digital regular saver at 5.2. 5% is strong for a variable rate product with no fixed term. Premier Select offers a competitive premium account with no monthly fee and a mortgage-based qualification route that the other banks in this series don't provide. The Coutts scandal is settled. The criminal conviction was 4 years ago. The government stake is fully sold. Paul Thwaite has brought stability without drama. But the conviction stands on NatWest's record permanently, and the debanking controversy changed how every UK bank handles account closures. NatWest is the comeback story of UK banking. Whether the comeback is complete depends on whether you believe institutions can change, or whether the record tells you everything you need to know. Every choice is a trade-off. At least now you know what you're trading.